Hello, I am John Ryan, and this is the Predictive Playbook. And one of our listeners actually said Prospective Playbook would be perhaps a better name. We'll have to give that some thought. But I'm psyched to be here. I'm with my good friend and pal, Albert of Analytics Capper on Twitter. And we're going to be talking about NBA. We're going to be talking about NCAA basketball. We're going to save the Super Bowl as a teaser for you guys to come on tomorrow afternoon for that. And I'm going to be doing prop bet shows, very quick ones. They might even be 5 minutes long on Saturday and then especially Sunday. Sunday, we'll have a halftime show like we've done all season long. And believe me, I'm psyched. I actually just gave myself goosebumps just thinking about this game. But Albert, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's Thursday. There's only 4 days, like you said, before the game. Again, we kind of alluded to this yesterday, but it's Brady versus Mahomes. This is the closest thing that you can get to a Jordan LeBron or LeBron Kobe. Magic and Jordan played in '91, but Magic was well past his prime. But this is the closest we can get to seeing two goats playing, and like I said yesterday, if Mahomes does not win, and I don't have a side yet on the game, but if Patrick Mahomes does not win on Sunday, it's hard to ever consider him the GOAT from then on.
That is a great point because he's 0-1 against Brady then. That's exactly right. And that's hard to overcome. Yeah, it's like the LeBron James versus Jordan, and I've always sided with Jordan in that debate because he's 6-0. I mean, you can't get any better than 6-0. So
John,
that's a great point.
John, that's where you and I differ because I think LeBron. Some days I'll say he surpassed Jordan, and some days I think he's below Michael. But you can make a case for both. But I think for football, I mean, in this example, it's different, right? Because they actually will play against each other. Yep. And if Brady wins his seventh and one of them includes Patrick Mahomes, to me, it may not even matter what Patrick Mahomes does for the next 10 years. He could win 8 total, but if he has that one loss against Brady, it's hard to really consider him better.
I'm wondering if New York Giant fans would say that, therefore, Eli Manning is the greatest of all time because he's 2-0 against Brady. I'm sure there's somebody out there that would be that passionate.
Eli and Nick Foles, right? They both beat Brady.
Yeah. I guess you saw Nick Foles was trending pretty high today on Twitter.
Yes.
So that actually was pretty funny. Speaking of the Eagles, let's just diverse just a little bit here because this was picking up steam with the Super Bowl. Carson Wentz, which I had thought just a few days ago was going to be definitely back in Philly. Now the sports books are actually putting up betting lines for the teams that he could possibly be on. The Eagles have admitted that they have gotten calls, which is interesting too, because that implies that they didn't, not answer the phone. It implies that they are listening. And I don't know how in the world with his salary of $36 million, I can't even construct a trade in my mind that I would do on Yahoo for my fantasy league. It's kind of mind blowing, but I guess the Eagles are still the favorite, but not by much. And then it's Indianapolis and 4 other teams are on that list. Oh, wow. But Indianapolis would be the likely choice. But what do you think happened?
That's interesting. I actually haven't kept up with the Eagles. Obviously, I'm a big Cowboys fan. I should be a little more in tune with the NFC East. But I guess I'll throw it back to you. Who do you think has a better chance of getting traded, Deshaun Watson or Carson Wentz?
Oh, I think Jackson.
Deshaun Watson, yeah.
Yeah, not because of anything talent-wise or need-based by a team that is acquiring him, but the contract is much simpler to integrate into a contract, even if it involves 3 teams and it gets a little complex, or it would get complex with 3 teams. I think his contract is easier to absorb than what Carson Wentz has, I believe, for the next 4 or 5 years. It's multiple years and some serious money.
I would say this. I'm not a big Carson Wentz defender, but I think he's one of the players with his talent. 'Cause he has a lot of talent, and we saw what he can do 2.5 years ago. The grass could be potentially greener for him, depending on the team, depending on the fit, and depending on the system that they run. Carson Wentz can be a successful, productive quarterback in this league, but I do think his time in Philadelphia has run out.
It really caught me by surprise. Maybe it's just me, but I'm looking at the odds now: plus 125 for the Eagles, 150 for the Colts, 250 for Denver, which is really interesting. That's intriguing. The Bears, of course, plus 300. New England Patriots. I don't see that at all. But who am I? I'm on a show here. I'm not in the front office, but they're plus 400. The Steelers are 600. San Fran 800, Detroit 800, the Washington football team 800, and the Saints 1,000.
He's definitely not going to Washington, right? He's not going to stay within the division. But let's try to get to the rest of our games here, to our slate. Speaking of Philadelphia, right? Speaking of Philadelphia, let's start with the 76ers. They are currently 10-point favorites against Portland. It started off as an 8-point spread, but Damian Lillard has been ruled out for tonight, and so the line jumped 2 points. What are your thoughts on your beloved 76ers?
Well, they're chugging along now and exceeding my expectations. And as you know, I was pretty bullish, and I thought the market had really made them a cheap team. I didn't recognize it preseason, but after a few games, you could see that Doc Rivers was generating a tremendous chemistry on the floor during games, and that the supposed bickering that the media said last year between Simmons and Embiid, and it was like listening to Belichick and Brady having a marital fight, has gone away, and you can see it on the floor. Simmons has 3 triple doubles now. He ranks 13th on the all-time list with 31 triple doubles. Embiid is, as you mentioned in our last show, and there's no doubt about it, he is definitely the lead right now for the NBA MVP award. And they just seem to be getting better and better. I thought they were in a trap situation last night. They come away with the win and another ATS win. And now, they're at home, where I think they've lost, twice? And last year,
they haven't lost since Ben Franklin was around at home.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
Yeah, they're very dominant home team. One thing I'd like to say in terms of the analytics behind it, 10 is a lot to give up to any NBA team. Portland is missing Damian Lillard, like we said. Nurkic, he's out. CJ McCollum is out, as well as Derrick Jones Jr. So 4 of their starters are out. I will say there has been a really weird phenomenon with the NBA this year when the star player is out for their team. It covers a lot more than you would imagine. And it's something that I probably would lay off. I wouldn't be surprised if Philadelphia comes out really slow, because they know that Portland doesn't have the horses tonight. And so they may get down early. It gives you a chance to hop on a Philly number at maybe less than 5 points. I think that's going to be safe for you, but 10 is a lot. Winning any NBA game by 5 to 6 possessions is asking for a lot. So for me, it's probably a layoff. And if I wanted action, it would be an in-game play.
There's a couple of trends that are really interesting here in this game. So you have Philadelphia is 1-9 against the spread after scoring 110 or more points in 3 straight games in the past 2 seasons. You also have Philadelphia as 11-24 with 1 push after covering the spread in 2 or more consecutive games in the past 3 seasons. They're 2-14 after 4 or more consecutive wins over the last 3 seasons. Then there's one which I think actually works against Philadelphia, and it's all about those trends that mature and using the p-value of the parameters being used to identify this. But listen to this one. 12-0 are the Sixers in home games with a total of 220 to 229.5. the correlation between home game and the total being 220 to 229.5 has not too strong a relationship. That's like a couple dates and then you split up. That's a number that, even though it's 12-0, is a red flag, to just say, oh wow, Philadelphia's 12-0, and how could they lose tonight? These are the situations where these types of trends are very dangerous to look at and say, oh wow, I'm going to the window right now. But the ones I read off here, the scoring, we always talk about regression and regress and all those good words. And Philly, believe it or not, just in this one example of tonight, I agree with you, but I think I would stand aside, and then if we're right on this call and Philadelphia stumbles out of the gate, you might be able to get them at -3, maybe even cheaper. And that would be the way I would play this. I would look in game tonight, and at 3 points or less as a home favorite, I would chalk up 25% of a normal bet. If it goes to pick, I'll add another 25%. If somehow it goes to +3, it might. I'll add another 25%, and then we'll see what's going on.
Yep.
But those three bets would have to be placed in the first half. That's where you get the biggest bang for your buck on these, because you also have the second half to go. You do live betting in the second half, you're really, you're putting the handcuffs on yourself, because you got to be right away. Yep. So I think that's how I'm going to play. What do you think?
No, I like that a lot. One thing I do like to focus on when there are injuries, because I don't like capping in reaction to news, right? And we live in a COVID world now, so there's a lot of news all the time. So it's hard to really handicap like that. But where I try to find edges is, okay, if 4 starters, including Damian Lillard, who averages around 30 points a game, is out, who can I find in the prop market to replace those points, right? So the first thing I would go to is, who is his replacement at guard? It's probably going to be Anthony Simons. I think he's going to have a lot of shots. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. So he's going to have opportunity. But books are smart, right? The DraftKings and the FanDuels of the world, they've taken off the prop bets for this game because they just don't know who's playing, and they know people like you and I will try to find edges. So if you do have an outlet or a site that still has those prop bets, I will look at the Portland backups, because someone's going to have to score, someone's going to have to rebound, and I think that's the only edge that I would probably try to find pre-flop for this particular game. The other game I want to talk about is the Mavs. So last night I did like the Mavs. I gave it here on the show. It wasn't an official play for my clients, but it was a play here on the show. I do like them again tonight. I will say, with caution though, they did just come off a 6-game losing streak where they were favored 3 of those games. They won last night and covered. However, it was a 15-point lead late, and Atlanta got it to 3 points. So Dallas is in a really weird situation right now where they don't know how to close. They're making silly mistakes, committing turnovers, missing free throws late in the game. So with a line like this where it's 2 to 3 to 4 points, and you have Steph Curry on the other side who can close and who's a 90% free throw shooter himself, it's something that you need to watch out for.
Yeah, I think so too. And this is the COVID schedule too. And I'm sure you noticed this, Albert. They're starting a 4-game road trip in the state of Texas, and they're only going to be at 2 places. So you're going to have Dallas on, tonight, obviously, and then Saturday night is Dallas again, and then San Antonio on the 8th and the 9th, and back-to-back nights. So this is new data for my database. I don't know how to interpret that. But we're going to have to see how Golden State gets through that gauntlet, because think about when San Antonio was a dominant force in the West. Would you want to play them on the road 2 nights in a row?
No, there was a time there in the mid 2000s where you didn't want to touch the Texas Triangle, right? You had to deal with Yao and T-Mac in Houston, Duncan and Big 3 in San Antonio, and then Dirk in Dallas. It was a tough road trip. Even now at 4 games and you're playing Dallas back-to-back and Spurs back-to-back, I mean, that's tough, even if you were a great team. And right now we don't know if Golden State is a great team, We know that Steph is a great player and they're coming around, but we just don't know how they are as a team. I think Wiseman has been missing too the last couple games, which hurts them because he does give them a lot of athleticism that they didn't have before the season. Depending on that line, when they do play the Spurs, it might be a Spurs play for me personally.
Yeah, I think even though short distance travel, I would think the grind of having to play the same team twice and then do it again, that's gonna be tough.
All right, yeah. And there's only one other basketball game that I briefly want to mention is Utah and Atlanta. Utah just came off a 12-game winning streak, and then they lost and won again. So they're still on fire. Of the last 14 wins, I think all of them were ATS covers. They are 8.5-point favorites on the road against Atlanta. I believe Trae Young is questionable. He had a bad game last night against Dallas. If he's playing, I fully expect a huge bounce back from him because we saw what Jamal Murray could do to the Denver backcourt when they play. So I think Trae Young can do the same. Honestly, I kind of like Atlanta here. The movement scares me, but if I had to choose someone, it would be Atlanta at 8.5. What are your reactions?
I'm on that side for sure. One thing I wanted to do with my database is, and I usually do this every day. I take anomalies, like you just mentioned. Trae Young had a horrible night. Do you know offhand, like how many points? Like what was the worst part of his box score? Do you think?
Probably 3-point shooting. Give me a second. I could pull it up for you. So last night against the Mavs, Trae Young's stat line was 8 for 18 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3. He had 21 points, but I believe a vast majority of that happened at the end of the game during garbage time. So he had low teens in terms of worthwhile points last night.
Okay, I'm going to plug that in here quick. Hopefully I'll get an answer here. It's running slow. What do you know?
It always happens like that when we're recording, right?
I'm sorry, what was that, Albert?
I said that always happens when we're recording, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's the advantage of not doing a live show. Yeah, but I like the live shows better anyway. So maybe we can circle back to that.
Yeah, no problem. Let's get into your college basketball.
Yeah, there's one game tonight that I like. For the show purposes, to be fair, I do have a 5%er, which is the top-rated play that Sports Memo and Wager Talk allow us to release. They don't put up with the game of the month or game of the year or game of my life or the inside locker room game of the year. It just gets tiring, doesn't it? It works for some people. It doesn't work for me. But anyway, 5%er goes tonight. I'm 2021. I'm 7-1 with these 5%ers. That kind of pace is not going to continue. I don't know when I'm going to lose. I don't know if I'm going to win tonight. But as a special that Wager Talk and Sports Memo are doing with a lot of marketing effort on social media, you can get it for $5. So I encourage you to get it. You get a sample of my research, and I put out a pretty extensive report on it today. And for $5, you can't go wrong with that. It's normally $40. And you can get $5 from any of the cappers that are on the site too. So I endorse every single capper on both of those sites that you pick one of them blindly. You're going to be happy with the results. You're going to be happy with the research you're getting, the stuff you're going to be learning. Even when the plays lose, you're going to be learning a ton. So, that's the advantage of being with a group and a team like that is that, I'm proud to be with that group, and by somebody buying somebody else's picks, I'm not jealous. We all share in the wealth. So give that a shot tonight. And for $5, that's less than a craft beer. So if you drink 3 a night, just drink 2.5 tonight. But anyway, I'm looking at Minnesota tonight, on the road at Rutgers. And I know for the last time I looked here, let's get to this odds page. The odds page is up, right? Yeah.
Yes,
So we scroll down here. There it is, Minnesota Rutgers. Look at it. I mean, look at the numbers on the over. I suspect there's less than 500 total bets being made on the total. In other words, 500 betting over or under. But what I find interesting is the line opened at 6, and we're at 5.5 now. And I run these, they're basically Python bots that achieve a sentiment reading. So in football, for example, I would put in the hashtag for the football team, and it would go and get 1,100 tweets with stop words in them. They could be like couldn't, shouldn't, will never, words like that. So you come up with a sentiment reading. And I ran that this morning for this game, and the sentiment was overwhelmingly positive for Rutgers. Rutgers is going to destroy Minnesota. Minnesota does not, another stop word, does not have a chance. Stuff like that. So I find it really interesting and intriguing right now that this is at 5.5, and I think it's going to go to 5. So if you like Minnesota as I do, I would wait as close to game time, and who knows? I don't have a crystal ball. I could go to 4.5. At which point you're getting a great line. But again, I always come back to the in-game betting. And my style of betting is changing, Albert. It was always pre-flop, and then you'd be at halftime and you'd be like, well, that's probably going to be a loser. That's probably going to be a winner. And you really don't know. But you never had an opportunity to to augment your situation that you have at halftime. So in this game, if it is, I don't care if it's 6, 6.5, 4.5, whatever it is, I'm going to do 50% pre-flop, and then I'm going to look to add at roughly 7.5 on the in-game, and maybe double digits. So I'm probably going to add 30 or 40% if I can get 7.5, and then anything 10 and north. I think would be extraordinarily good, because I actually see Minnesota winning this game. Do you agree with me, or do you think I'm nuts?
No, I definitely don't think you're nuts. I can't say I disagree or agree yet, just because I haven't done research on this game, but it's something, I will echo. If it's something that you like, I'm definitely going to make a note of it myself and look into it closely. So you like Minnesota, you like them pre-flop, and you would sprinkle a little bit on the money line as well, correct?
That's correct. The one thing, and our other partner Kyle Hunter points out, and he looks at pace of play quite a bit, and he uses the HaslamMetrics.com. So a shout out to him. It's if you've never seen this site for the chat room, you definitely want to check this out. Granted, it's great for me because, and Albert, because we're analytical guys. We're like basically data scientists, and anything that has numbers in it instead of words, we just absolutely go wild over. And he's really put together a great site that's very meaningful and very useful. So in this, what Kyle has been talking about in the Big Ten, and I definitely 100% agree with this, is that the home team wins a higher percentage of the games in the Big Ten than any other conference. And my reasoning behind it is that it's by far the toughest conference to play in. There's 14 teams, and 10 of them are probably worthy enough to get an invite into the tournament. So when you have a situation like that, it makes sense to me that the home team is going to win more than they lose. Now, this has been going on for the better part of 3 seasons. The market now, I think, has overshot, so that the public knows this information. They know that, you don't ever bet a road team in the Big Ten. That's stupid. But I think it's overshot now. And I think this is one of those times where it looks like a sure bet that Rutgers is going to win by double digits, and I actually think it could be Minnesota. But that site, Haslam Metrics, is quite impressive for those that want to go check it out. And in college basketball, that was my game for the show. Do you have any college games you want to highlight?
No, currently I don't have any that really sticks out to me. I only have 1 to 2 college basketball games a night on my slate anyway, so I definitely will look at that Minnesota game. And then we'll talk offline about your 5% play. But I do like that. I do like that. And no, I'm excited to put those wagers in. We do have a comment from one of our viewers here.
Okay.
He did say the issue with Mini is they cannot shoot. One of the worst 3-point shooting teams.
That's true, but I will offset that with now that I have it handy here. I have this actually in my database. The 2-point, close proximity to the rim, which is this is layup, dunks, and tip-ins, which would count as offensive rebounds too. In other words, it's offensive rebound put up within 10 seconds, including dunks, layups, and offensive rebound and missed shots. So there, Minnesota is actually very strong, and Rutgers defending that is not so good. So I agree. 3-point shooting, I think they're 30.3%. I think they're even worse than the chat room gentleman said. But they're going to shoot. They're going to be able to go to the rim a lot more tonight. And if you watch the beginning of the game and you see that I'm right, then that also gives you an in-game bet. Conversely, if I'm missing the point here and I look like I missed the complete handicap, that's an advantage too, because then you know that Rutgers must have done something to defend the rim a lot better than they've been doing, and that increases their chances of winning and covering. But until I see Rutgers preventing close range shots by Minnesota, I'm going to stick with the Gophers. But I'm glad that whoever that was in the chat room brought that up. That's why we have the chat room there, and that's why we do these things live.
Great. Any final remarks, final comments, John? I'm good on my end.
I'm just going to share one prop bet, and it's one that is pretty intriguing to me. I think about it a lot, and we might have already talked about this, Albert. But for those in the chat room that haven't heard this one, I'm going to play this prop bet probably tomorrow. I'm trying to milk the line a little bit, but it's Tampa Bay's first score will be a defensive one. So you're getting plus 1,100, and admittedly, if you do the math, it probably should be about plus 1,800. But this is Vegas. They're prop bets. You're not going to get, you might think you're getting value, but believe me, the reason they put up 400 prop bets is because it makes a ton of money. But this is one that really has me intrigued, because the team that has gotten a defensive score in the Super Bowl is 7-1, straight up, 6-2 against the spread. So let's play hypothetical. I have the Bucks. I bet them pre-flop. All of a sudden, the first possession, there's a fluke play. Somebody fumbles the ball, and there go the Bucks into the end zone. So, of course, that's great for me because I bet them pre-flop. But more importantly, now I have history on my side where there have been 8 defensive scores in Super Bowl history and a 7-1 record. So I went back and kind of back tested this over those 8 games where the defensive score occurred. And if you bet the Bucks in this example, every time the Chiefs would score and try to come back on that, you would have done extraordinarily well. Every time you would have done that in game, you would have won all those bets. I'm not forecasting that this is going to happen, and I'm not going to forecast that those back tests are going to apply now. It's kind of like on Wall Street. Your performance history is no guarantee of future success. But this is history that I think is reasonable to extend into a game like this. So my bet is that the first score by Tampa Bay is a defensive one. My reasoning that I just went through is if a defensive score happens at any point in the game. So Albert, I think you kind of like this one, I think.
Yeah, and that trend actually would be even one game stronger if Leon Lett made it to the goal line in 93. Because they did win 52-17. That would have made it 59-17. And obviously they would have gone on to win with a defensive touchdown. So it's a very strong trend there.
Yeah, that's very good, Albert. I actually forgot about that play. Oh my God, that's tremendous that you brought that up. Well, other than that, I don't want to abruptly end here, but I do want to show one quick thing here. This is a app um, that is run by a group of great guys in the Philadelphia area, and hopefully you guys will be able to see this here. This is the Viget app, and I highly recommend you get this. They just added a new feature where you can create leagues. So you can have your friends come in. It's private leagues. It's very much like to use the word, the Discord software, if you're familiar with that, where you have group meetings and you exchange information. Not everybody has to be there. You can leave things in the room and people can discuss them while you're not there. But it's all like it says, hashtag great fans cover. It's a great social media platform for sports interest and sports betting. So if you use the promo code Manny, that's capital MANNY, and fill out the very short application form, everything now and in the future will be free to you. So I've arranged this deal with them to help them promote more followers. They have over 30, I think they're up to 35,000, active members of this thing. And you'll see me on there. I put links to some of my tweets. I'm doing the betting, which if you bet, you use, it's not real money. You get, I forget what they call it now, but I guess it's like Viget coins. And you can actually buy, certain things. You're not going to, go out and buy a Mercedes or anything, but it's fun to do, even though it's not real money. And, a tremendous amount of people are doing it. KYW News Radio, which you see on the screen there, is one of the big ones in the Philadelphia region. It's a big news radio station, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. If I scrolled down before I took the screenshot, you'd be able to see, Fox, Bet, MGM, all the big ones. So I highly recommend you go there, get it on your Android app store or the Apple store, and it's Viget, as it says at the top, and put in the promo code Manny, and you're off and running.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I think people will like it. That's why I'm endorsing it. So I guess we'll end here, Albert. We'll be back tomorrow with some more another exciting day coming up.
Yeah, we'll probably get more into the Super Bowl tomorrow. It is Friday, the last weekday before the big game. And so please come back and please check out our show. Thank you, everybody.
You got it. And I echo those same thoughts. And for the Predictive Playbook, I'm John Ryan and Albert. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Bye, guys.